OMG, you are in for a treat, podcast listener. This is your host with the most, JJ. This is JJ Meets World. You know that because you've subscribed. Throw us some love, 5 stars, like an Uber ride. And in this episode of JJ Meets World, we're talking pork. We're talking community access television. There are so many great reasons you should listen to this, but the best is it starts right now. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
We're recording this right now in my office at work, and Tucker noticed that I have Flavor Ice, which are the long, we called them ices when I was a little kid, but they are long plastic tubes that are filled with like sugar water and flavoring.
Is this the same brand or is this an off-brand?
This is the same brand as I used to use as a kid, and these are the giant pops.
When did they rebrand from Icy?
I don't think they were ever called Icy.
Really?
I just think like that's just what we always called it.
Is that a Mandela effect?
I think so, yeah.
Really?
Because in Icy, ICEE, is the brand of like, it's like an off-brand of like a Slurpee.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know.
Okay.
So, but I've got these. I've got a whole big thing of it because my sister and I were talking about how we used to go to a place called Big Jim's Drive-In in Vergas, Minnesota, and these were like 50 cents a pop, and we used to get them, and the biggest disappointment would be if you found out that they didn't have the flavor that you wanted.
Yeah. If it doesn't have purple, I'm not interested.
Oh, see, now that's interesting because I'm not grape. Grape is not my flavor.
Oh, I'm all
And so
about it.
you and I would have been good bedfellows back in that day.
I mean, there's nothing I'm seeing on this list that I would be like, no, thank you. Like, I wouldn't be like, I don't touch cherry. No, thank you. Is that cherry or strawberry?
it is strawberry.
Okay, great.
So
Strawberry would still be preferable. Cherry is low on my list of fruits.
The flavors are lemon, lime, orange, berry punch, strawberry, tropical punch, and grape. They go like this in order for me. Tropical punch, orange, berry punch, strawberry, lemon, lime, grape.
So grape is your last. I am intrigued by berry punch. That's the blue one?
Yep.
So that is actually the one that I would probably gravitate towards first, because any kind of mixed berry, blackberry, something where it's like, hey, we put a bunch of berries in here. That's typically what I go for first.
Oh, really?
Before grape. So I actually, there's a chance that the grape might be my number 2.
You're living in a golden era of cough syrups then, because
Am I?
the berry flavored cough syrups are having a moment.
I was a Dimetapp kid, big time. I love Dimetapp. I think it tastes so good.
I know people who drink specific drinks because they taste like Dimetapp.
What does Dimetapp do? I actually don't know what Dimetapp is.
It's cough medicine for kids.
It is cough medicine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, I think they have an adult version too, but it was the company that decided, you know what, we're going to make this for kids. Now, whether it's a watered down version of their regular Dimetapp or it's just Dimetapp, but they put the kids on it, remains to be seen.
It's so good though. What is isn't the Flaming Moe got something like
It's
Dimetapp?
got Krusty's like child's cough medicine. So Tucker tells me he sees this box, and it's a good-sized box, and it says 45 giant ice pops. And he goes, you know, these are supposed to be in the freezer. And I said, I would love to put them in my freezer, but right now it's full of pork. Because I have a mini fridge in my office.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying that was full of pork.
Oh, that the flavor ice thing was full of pork?
You said, oh, no, it's full of pork. That's what I thought you were talking about. And I was like, oh, man, that seems unhealthy.
Just to have it sitting on because we walked into my office together. Like, it's just, it's a big thing.
I ate the best pork loin I've ever had.
Really?
Very recently. For work, we were filming a guy who sells a lot of Big Green Egg grills.
Oh, yeah.
And so he was cooking a bunch of stuff while we were filming him, and then we got to try it. And so he cooked pork loin. Oh, my God. Was that the best pork loin I've ever had?
Nice.
Not even close. Anyways, big green egg.
So yeah, well, that was what your point was.
That was.
So you want me to go back to your point? Is that what you?
No.
So
it uses charcoal.
my company, which is very farmer friendly, agriculture, was asked through like 4-H to sponsor a hog this last summer. And so what you do when you sponsor a hog is you provide sponsorship dollars so that a 4-H student can raise a hog. So it offsets the cost of feeding, getting to shows to show it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so essentially he's raising the hog for you. Now, 9 times out of 10, you tell the kid that they can keep the pig, right? And the goal here is to get it processed. This isn't a pet.
Right.
This is raising livestock for the purpose of eating it. And so, but you tell them that they can keep it. Well, apparently my company decided, oh, no, we'll take it. And so the kid was like, okay, well, I dropped off Oinky at this butcher shop. And so on Friday, my boss sent out an email saying, hey, we've got an entire pig's worth of pork in the back freezer. So anyone who wants some pork products can come and get it. We're talking about ham steaks, teardrop hams, bacon, breakfast sausage patties, and links. It goes on and on and on. It's boxes and boxes because have you ever like been with someone who like bought a whole hog or like they say like a quarter beef or like a half beef?
Have I known them sexually?
Yes. How many?
Most of my partners have done that.
Is that how you met them most of the time? Is waiting in line for you just go to the pickup line?
They were the butcher.
Oh, there you go. Not gonna lie, I'd love to date a butcher. How great would that be? Constantly bring home like the best cuts of meat.
Except I did just watch a true crime where this guy was married to a lady who worked at a butcher shop, and then when she killed him, she fucking cut him up and like cooked him at home.
Yeah, I mean, if I murdered someone, I tried to hide them in an improv show.
This was not
right?
a hide.
I try and work.
This was like I'm just going to show the world what disdain I have for you. So I'm going to cut your head off. I'm going to put it in this pot. I'm going to cut off these different riblets and stuff using the precision. By the way, I bet that kid that you guys sponsored was through the egg enrichment livestock program.
Yeah,
because I just made the video for them.
Oh,
on that. So I actually spent time with these kids washing their pigs.
Oh, so we have a framed photo, a 5x7 framed photo of this kid and his pig on top of the freezer. Where you can take it. So I'll show you.
I'm gonna go look at you, see if I know this kid.
Oh yeah, I know Oinky.
Most of the kids seem to have goats, but there was a couple pigs.
Couple of hogs. So I only recently got rid of this thing, but when I was a little kid, in our garage at the lake, we had this gigantic drum, and it had a metal ring around the top, and it was like, you could tell it was like somewhere, it was a step above cardboard, but it wasn't solid wood that was making up the rest of the drum, and then a metal bottom. And I want to say it was probably 3 feet high and drum size, Sure. Drum size.
Drum size, yeah.
And we always kept rakes and shovels because, it was big enough that you could put all your garden stuff in it, right? And it was just, it was perfect. I loved this thing when we were little, and it moved with us back to Fargo when we sold the lake place. When my mom got rid of it, like I took it over and put it in my shed, and I only recently got rid of it. And when I finally got rid of it, Jill was like, oh, you've had that for a long time. And I'm like, yeah, do you know what this is from? And she said, no. I'm like, my parents went in with someone else and they bought a pig, and this is how it was delivered. And she said, what? And I said, yeah, the dead pig, not slaughtered yet, but the dead pig arrived at my dad's work in this drum sealed on the top. And my dad opened the drum thinking like, oh, they piled up all the hams and the bacon and all the pork chops and stuff like that. And there was the pig's ass on the side of the drum. And so he called the place and he goes, you gave me the wrong thing. And they're like, well, yeah, we don't butcher it for you. Like that's the butcher. You need to go to the butcher. We just raise the hog and we bleed it out and give it to you. So then my dad,
was it in like packing peanuts or something?
No, just
a dead pig in a barrel
with the hooves, with everything in it, everything. And so And it's funny because my dad, even though he was raised in a rural area, didn't know what to do. And now the clock is really ticking because he's opened this sealed container with a dead pig in it. And now he needs to find a place that can take the dead pig, or at the very least put it into their freezer system, right? So he calls like all the butcher shops in Fargo, and they're like, we don't do that. Like we're a city butcher shop. You know, he calls like Sun Mart and stuff like that.
Sure.
And they're like, you know, we sell steaks, you know, but we don't do it's called processing. So you need to call one of the rural places. So he starts calling around rural. He finally finds a place like in Hope, North Dakota, and and now he's got this thing, and he's like, I got to put this in the back of my Jeep. So he puts it in the Jeep, and he goes, and it smells now, right?
Yeah.
Like it's starting to like, you're getting the smell of something that's dead, not processed meat, but like dead.
Yep.
So he finally gets up to Hope, and the two guys take it out. And he's like, when can you get to this? And they're like, well, we'll get to it tomorrow. And he goes, okay. And so he comes back the next day, and they've got everything packaged up. It's all in white paper, all, you know, comes out of the freezer. So everything's frozen. So it's like, oh, thank God. Okay. And so they're like, do you want the barrel back? And he said, yes. Could never tell you the reason why he said yes, but he chose to get the barrel back. So this barrel maybe served as a reminder to my dad, like something that you kind of keep. Maybe it was some sort of trophy, right? To remind him, like, yeah, I was able to accomplish a feat in a small amount of time. And we had that barrel. I'm telling you, that barrel lasted forever. It went through floods, and like it had the look of when water seeps up the side of like cardboard. So it had that look on the outside, but it could hold a ton of stuff, and it made a dong noise every time you'd like lift it up and put it down.
So when I go home today, I'm going to take a photo of a barrel I have in my garage that I've held on to, that my dad had, that I've used for storage ever since then.
Should we write a book called Our Father's Barrels? How many other people are having this barrel experience out there?
This one was probably only up to my waist in height. It's not a big one, but it has a metal rim, and it looks like it's made of some like really stiff, hard cardboard. That's almost like a wooden cardboard. And it's got a stain on the side of it from having gotten wet at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But this thing carried MSG.
Ooh.
And it's still got the sticker on the outside that says what that was. And by the time I first even remember seeing it, it was in our basement at my dad's place on 3rd Street. And it was already empty. I mean, we were just keeping shit in it, right? Like brooms and stuff or whatever. It's just an open top. And so now I've been keeping like old posters that are probably all now water damaged and stuff, but it's got a shit ton of things just sitting in it. It's always been there. And at some point I got to get rid of this MSG barrel because it's getting holes in it. I'm sure it's moldy. It's not good storage.
You know, what's interesting is years ago, you could go to a car wash in town, and the chemicals that come, like the soap and stuff, come in these giant like plastic barrels because they're chemicals, and you could buy the barrels for $5 a piece. We here at KFGO, we bought a bunch of them, and they became the garbage cans for when we do our summer picnic, right? And so, I think at $5 a piece, we bought 50 of them.
Nice.
Or no, we bought $50 worth. So we bought 10.
Yeah, 50 would be a lot. That would be aggressive.
But it's the type of thing where, like,
how many people are showing up to these?
Tucker, I'll get you a new barrel. Like, I think you're due for a new barrel.
That instead of like just swapping out the bag inside, it's like get another barrel started.
Get another barrel.
Get another barrel started.
Roll this barrel.
I want to see all of it at once at the very end.
I'm thinking about hosting a new show. Let me pitch a show to you. So one of the most popular things that we have on the KFGO airwaves is the Solid Gold Saturday Morning, which plays solid gold country hits. Now, to be solid gold, it has to be over 25 years old. So when they started this show, probably back like in the 70s, you're talking about, like country when it was twangy, or, Hank Williams stuff.
Yep.
And now, 25 years puts you into like Shania Twain era at this point, right?
Yeah.
And so, which doesn't really fit into the like idea of like much eaten heart. So it's ultra popular. People listen to it from everywhere. It's hosted by a guy named Scotty Winston. He does a great job. He's always figuring out whose birthday it is, and he's got little facts and connections to things. I kind of want just randomly once or twice during the fall to host a polka show on the airwaves. Like one night when we don't have any other programming, I will host a polka show, and I think it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be.
And I think that there's people out there who would find the kitschiness of it to be really worthwhile.
We got to find this. I'm sure if you just did a YouTube search, you'd see it. But so back when I worked at MCAT, one of the shows that we played every week, and they were producing these constantly, they probably still do, was a polka show called Friendship Set to Music.
Ooh.
And it was just mostly VHS video of people it's basically a polka dance session, right? And so you'd have whoever is calling it out and singing or whatever, and then you'd have the folks in their polka outfits doing a polka. And it was just Friendship Set to Music. Every week we had a new one. Now that was public access style stuff, right? Now I think you need to dive into the Friendship Set to Music universe and see what from it you think works but could be improved and what doesn't work. Maybe you take over Friendship Set to Music in some way.
There's a local group called the Meat Rabbits. Well, they've played at Theater B things before. So the Meat Rabbits, but the Meat Rabbits do a polka, like they do polka covers of famous songs. So like it's Total Eclipse of the Heart, but in a polka fashion. And so I envision an episode where they come in and do like a couple live numbers for us. And really, if I could get what I really want, I would get an American Legion to give me the dance hall. And so there'd be like a live polka, like people would be dancing there while I'm hosting the show as well. So I'm like, I'm being like, all right, our next big hit for you is going to be the Beer Barrel Polka. Raise those steins, my friends. And I'd have like a character I'd play for this polka show. And it's slightly based off of, have you ever seen The Last Polka by any chance?
Why is that? It's ringing a bell.
Eugene Levy and John Candy, and they play the Schmengi brothers.
No, I have not.
These were characters they came up with way back in the day during SCTV, and their lederhosen wearing like brothers named the Schmengis, who they talk like these, they're funny, and so they play. And like John Candy, he must have actually played the clarinet because that's his role during this. And then when you think about it, he plays the clarinet in Home Alone as well. So the Schmengis actually had like full on real concerts. And so they made this movie called The Last Polka about the Schmengi brothers. And their big hit was a song called Cabbage Rolls and Coffee. and so like they play, and it's they play and play and play and play, and then all of a sudden like they go cabbage rolls and coffee. Cabbage rolls and coffee.
I'm gonna ask a question that I know I should know the answer to.
Sure.
But I don't, and I'm realizing it just now. So I'm gonna go ahead and just show my ignorance. Polka, is that German or Polish?
It's a good question. I mean, you hear a lot of it at German.
Yeah.
I think, here's the thing. I think it probably, you can't assign it to a specific country when they're so close in so many different ways.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I bet we probably could.
But like, I mean, because
I'm my assumption of the Polishness is just because polka starts with POL. That might just be
like
it.
Polacks,
Right? Because at first I was sitting here thinking, how come I never hear Monika talk about polka? And then I'm like, well, maybe I'm just being ignorant. That has nothing to do with Poland.
According to a quick Google, the polka, a dance style and music genre, originated in Bohemia, which is now part of the Czech Republic in the 19th century. The word polka is thought to come from the Czech word pulka, which means half or half step, referring to the dance's quick half step movements. So it didn't.
Weird. I'm looking at the Wikipedia article, and part of the opening says polkas, as they often are referred to, are typically dance tunes in 2/4 time and form a large part of the traditional dance culture and music repertoire of Ireland, most notably in the country's southernmost province of Munster, in the counties of Cork, Kerry, and parts of Limerick. So it's like you're right. It does spread out,
and there are some disagreements.
But ultimately, you could say it's Czech. It's Czechoslovakian.
But I will also say this. What polka refers to differs. For example, this is from polishmusic.usc.edu. So this is a scholar saying the name polka is derived from Czech words for field or half. In other interpretations, the name relates to the Czech term for a Polish girl, Polska, in reference to Krakowiak dance songs which the Bohemians adopted for their polkas.
So
So there is a little bit of potential for Polish.
Well, here's another connection to that too, and I'm reading from the Wikipedia article. Yeah, the term polka referring to the dance is believed to derive from the Czech words polka, like you were just saying, meaning half step, blah blah blah. This name has been changed to, in quotes, polka, as an expression of honor and sympathy for Poland and the Poles after the November uprising of 1830 to 1831. Polka meaning in both the Czech and Polish languages, Polish woman. So Monika's a polka.
Sure, yes. Here's another interesting fact for you. The polka for a while was a form of rebellion because you can't polka by yourself. It's performed as a couple's dance. If an employer knew dance notation, how many people could have replicated the dance after seeing it on paper? What?
There's an International Polka Association based in Chicago.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
That's like your favorite city.
What town was John Candy's band really known well in?
The
Kenosha Kickers is the name of it, but where are they really big?
I thought it was Milwaukee, but no.
Sheboygan.
Was
Polka,
John Candy
polka
Polish?
twist.
Was he Polish? I guess that's a dumb question. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He could have been all sorts of things.
All sorts of things. You should watch the last polka though. It's on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing. You can watch other clips of the Schmengies. They also I want to say that they put a big gap in Eugene Levy's like front teeth too, as like a little add-on for it. It's well worth your time.
I'm gonna
last polka.
Look up Friendship Set to Music.
Oh, good.
I really think this could help inspire you.
And I want to touch on this too because I'm sure we've talked about it at some point, but it's been a long time. So when you were involved with MCAT, Moorhead Community Access Television, one of the things I was most jealous of was when you went to that conference.
Oh, in Boston?
Yeah, and you got to meet all the other people who are making community-based programming.
Yeah, that was kind of a wild trip. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you came back and you had all these awesome stories, but then you also like this is an era just before YouTube, right? And so
YouTube was really not a thing yet.
Really, when you think about it, it's too bad YouTube wasn't born from community access television people, because one of the things you came back, and I don't remember how you got the clip or where it was, but the woman who hosted that show, who like she was like a church organist.
Oh, are you talking about I'm Jim Daker?
Yeah.
That I found on YouTube.
Oh God, that was
just found online. That didn't come through the public access station, but I was looking for stuff like that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Right, because this woman, and I don't remember where she's from, but she has a very thick accent, like a thick
but it's
like Southern,
but it's also aged so much, so you can't really tell. She really does sound like kind of a word. You really can't tell where she's from. But at one point she goes, he's gone to Amora too. Okay.
And so she hosts this public access
My name's
show.
Jim Daker.
And she sits and plays the piano, and here's the thing: the piano is facing away from the camera, so she has to kind of turn around to talk to the camera. And she's a wonderfully plump woman, and she's explaining about how this man goes to her church and he sings, and now he's going to sing like a hymn that's popular with the kids today, and he's also going to sing Amore too. Okay, and so she goes back and she starts playing the piano, and it cuts to the most frightened man I've ever seen in front of a camera, who's an older guy, and he's already been introduced, and the music's playing, and then he goes, "I'm Jim Daker," and so then they kind of restart again. It is so incredibly miserable for him, and he gets lost in the middle. How can you find, like, if someone wants to find this clip while we're talking about it?
Well, first off, just listen to this.
This has been a nice time for me. This year, I have made 55 years teaching in this town. And for the students on this show tonight, go to the First United Methodist Church. That includes me. I go to First United Methodist Church. Reverend Jones, Bill Jones, opened our show last time, and he's not here tonight. So John Daker's here. Bob Spencer, Michelle Casey, and I all go to First United Methodist Church. So John is going to sing a song that's very popular nowadays, and it's Christ the Lord is risen today, and he's going to do Amora too, okay?
My name is John Daker. Lord is risen today, hallelujah. Sons of men and angels say, hallelujah. Your voice and triumphs high, hallelujah. Voice and when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. Amore. Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-ling, ting-a-ling-ling, and the bell ring, amore. Chickasy-chay, amore. Shines that's pure and long. When you know that you feel some more to me, but you see back in old Napoli, that's amore.
Oh, what a classic.
It's
And
so good.
It's worth watching it too because just the look on his face.
Yep.
And so good.
I think that there's a world where someone could criticize that why should we be making fun of this guy? But here's the thing. This guy powers through in a situation where he's clearly uncomfortable. Things don't go his way,
Yep.
but he has that big finish in old Napoli, that's amore. And I mean, I got some mad respect for Jim Daker.
Yeah, my name's John. It's John Daker, I guess.
John Daker.
We should find him.
Oh, there's no way he's still alive.
You don't know.
No way.
You never know.
Uh-uh.
That's you're right. That's I'm
The
thinking
shame alone.
You're right. I'm thinking in terms of when we found it online, but we don't know the production quality of public access was always the same.
Right.
So you couldn't really tell until probably the early 2000s. So you really couldn't tell what year something was necessarily shot, but that could have been a mid 80s.
Right. And even if it's mid 90s,
Yeah.
that's 30. We're talking about 30 years at this point,
Yeah.
and he does not look like a spring chicken.
But he's still raven haired, you know. He's you don't quite know.
That might be some dye, I
Yeah.
think. Like that might be a box color.
Yeah,
over there.
or we find his next of kin and we see if he's made any recordings where he talked about this, or if there's other like non-found John Daker stuff out there would be fantastic. The lady who opened it, there's no way she's not the woman who was singing.
This year I made
But the-
55 years teaching in this community.
55 years teaching us, and we'll go First Methodist Church.
Pastor Jones is my pastor.
He's not here this time. Why'd you talk about him then?
I love that era of, you know, the lakes area in the DL area had a community access station that was I can't, like, looking back on it, they produced show after show after show. Is crazy. There was a couple in a double wide trailer that hosted a cooking show that was so fun to watch because he wore all of this big jewelry and big hairy arms, and so he'd be like with his hands mixing this stuff up, and you'd be like, oh my god, he's getting his hair all inside of this fish batter.
Yeah.
And they taped every small town parade, and then they would play those things back, so it was just a static image as like the parade stuff goes by, and occasionally like someone would stand in front of the camera for a moment.
I'm still obsessed with that stuff. I still love it because it captures the feeling that we had at the time of, wow, this is amazing. You could broadcast something out to people.
Right.
Right? Like you don't have to be ABC or Fox to be able to send a video signal to people. And that concept was so gated, right? It was so hard to get there. And even then, okay, so the way a public access station would typically work, they're still around, so they probably still work this way. It's going to depend on the city. Is usually the municipality is collecting some kind of a fee from the cable providers in the area that they have to pay. That they pay a franchise fee to be able to have infrastructure there and use their utilities and stuff. And so usually a portion of that franchise fee gets carved off to run a public access station. And this started when that was the only way any one of us could have any kind of a broadcast whatsoever. The whole point was for like freedom of speech and stuff, so that you could have a way of getting your message out. It was also a way for, church services, local church broadcasts. It was the way you could show the local, peewee, sports, whatever, to be out there. And then if you, at least the way it worked in Moorhead was, if you were a citizen of Moorhead, then you didn't have to pay anything to put something on the air on MCAT, Moorhead Community Access TV, and use the equipment to do it. You just had to sign up, reserve the time, abide by some rules, and there were things that you couldn't put on the air. It was broadly defined as community standards. No nudity, swearing, drug use, things like that. But I mean, there wasn't really a mechanism to stop that either.
And you had a lot of churches, right?
A lot of churches. That was probably the most content would be, all the local churches were taping their services, and then they would bring the tapes to us and we'd play them. They weren't typically going live, although we had that ability in some places. But then we would also broadcast the Moorhead City Council meetings, and then we would play back recordings of those meetings over and over again. There's the community calendar that would just be up for hours at a time, which is just a slideshow going through, hey, this polka event is happening at Sons of Norway or whatever. And that was the way that worked. And it felt like pirate radio to me. Which I was obsessed with as a kid when I saw that episode of Adventures of Pete and Pete, where he had his own radio station. I thought that's amazing that you could do that. That's why I got so interested in Radio Free Fargo when that first happened, because that was what you had to do to broadcast to a wide audience. And so, yeah, I mean, access stations still exist, and I haven't really looked at them in a long time. But when YouTube came around, I remember thinking, oh, this is what it's going to be now.
It's the death of us, right? Because you can have a local audience, but you can also have a worldwide audience.
And rightfully so, right? Like that barrier to being able to broadcast yourself just no longer exists. And so I think, if anything, they probably now more function as an apparatus of the city to record their meetings. They're probably just taking from that budget. I mean, the City of Fargo and City of Moorhead both still operate public access channels where you can watch government programming, but I haven't paid attention, so I don't know if they have the other side of it where people are coming in actually using equipment. I doubt it. I'd be surprised if they were. Those are the mini DV tape days.
Yeah.
Wild, right?
I wonder. I wonder if they, because you wouldn't be able to use that format anymore.
That's not necessarily true. I mean, it just depends on what they're set up to. I mean, any broadcast site like that could broadcast any video signal as long as you have a deck to play it.
Right.
And there's a good chance that the system that automates a lot of that just maybe no longer factors a lot of that in, because you would have a tape that would be going into a tape player. It would have to be loaded. It'd have to be queued up to the right spot. And then there was an automation system that knew to start playing it at this point, stop playing it at this point, and all of that stuff. So it was very susceptible to being messed up.
I don't doubt that they still can. I mean, I can play stuff off of a cassette tape here if I really want to. But I guess, when was the last time you saw a mini DV tape in the wild available for sale?
Oh, for sale. Oh,
because if you were going to make something, you'd have to buy mini DV tapes to be able to do this.
It would be someone, you can still buy them, but it would probably be someone who's still using their camera that they bought back in the day, and it's still working, and that's what they're doing to make their thing. But I think it's not as much that it would be mini DV as it would be, they just wouldn't be going to the public access station. They would just be, if they're used to using mini DV, then they're used to probably ingesting it to their iMac. Using iMovie or whatever, and putting in basic titles. That stuff would still work. They could probably still make the video they could upload to YouTube. So they're probably just doing that now.
And there's got to be someone out there doing it.
Oh, there is. There definitely is. Recently, I have a lot of mini DV tapes of all the stuff that we used to shoot back in the day. And at some point I want to do a new archival pass on those and try to get them digitized. But I want to play with that then digitized footage with AI upscaling and see how much of it I could bring to life. Thomas Black from the South Dakota Film Festival recently shared First Mo online again, which I forgot I had it on YouTube on an old defunct channel of mine. And I thought that would be a fun video to remaster, you know, at like try to remaster at 1080, even though I shot it at standard definition. But maybe the tools are there that I could make a watchable version that doesn't look as compressed, doesn't have all the me not knowing how to use the camera correctly issues that thing had.
I mean, everyone's got to learn from somewhere, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's
it's still
the beauty of
watchable.
it, right?
Still fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's still very funny.
Tyranny is amazing in that. She's someone I would love to get on the show at some point.
Oh, yeah.
She's just a naturally funny person. And when you watch that, none of that was scripted. That was entirely improv on her point. And it was perfect improv. It came across like she was reading something written. And it wasn't. So she's someone who needs to get back into performing at some point. Tyranny, I don't think you listen to this show, but just in case you do.
You never know. She and I still like each other's posts from time to time on Facebook.
Yeah, that's true.
So you never know. If you're listening right now, Tyranny, hope everything's going great. We'll come to you. She's in California still?
Yeah, I think so.
Right?
I think she's out in L.A.
Yeah. Let's just take the show to L.A. for a little bit and see if we can find a celebrity.
I want to go to L.A. and I want to go to Florida.
Okay.
Because that's where Titanic Fan is.
Oh.
I've been wanting to talk to you about this too. I want to do a road trip, you and I.
Yeah.
Where we just drive down to Florida to deliver those to him, record with him while we're there, and then record podcasts there and back.
Ooh, I love that idea.
Right. Just make it like a 3-day jaunt. Like we're going to fucking go wild, or 4-day thing.
I mean, if I'm going to drive to Florida, I'm also going to want to go to Disney World. So just so you know, like that's something that's going to happen.
Got it.
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. Here's a pitch for a TV show for community access television: The Slaughtering of That Pig.